place. Never thought of that. I guess it would be where I taught for most of my time, which is in the Winder Center Lecture Hall. We had a beautiful, elaborate sound system. It was my pride and joy. Everyone who was willing would come in and say, let me play my sound system for you.
Of course, the sad-looking field behind this building will always be my cherished place because it was not only the field hockey field, it was the softball field back then too. So loved spending time there, looking for hockey balls in the leaves.
I enjoy just being in the classroom. Founders Hall, 109 or 106 are probably two of my favorite classrooms on campus, just because I remember being there as a student and I remember now being here as a professor.
My friend also has a memorial tree here, so I come and visit as often as I can.
The patio on the mansion. We spent a lot of time as international students on that patio. That's where we hang all the time, talking about things that happen back home.
Behind the mansion, when the weather was nice, that's where we would like sit and hang out. And one of my roommates, her dog lived with us on campus. We like always loved like taking her out behind the mansion.
And getting to graduate out there, I mean, that was such a big deal, being on that back lawn, and it's the coolest place. I mean, it really, really is.
I think the mansion probably, because I lived there for 2 years, really became a second home. And now to still say to people, I had the opportunity to live in that building, and when hear them say, you did, what was it like? Well, it was fun. It was nice. It was interesting.
Me and our friends, we would definitely find ourselves in this room, hanging out, doing homework. Like we would all be spread out on the table, and then we would like go to the library because sometimes, like, as legend says it, this place is haunted. So we're just like, all right, any little thing, we would just pack up and go.
Although there are plenty of times I sat in Grace Hall in a classroom for math classes because that's where my math classes were.
My office, for sure. I love this office. It's so beautiful. I come in and I look out the window and you can see almost the entire campus.
It's a beautiful campus and I love just walking from class to class.
I've heard our campus described as a cathedral of trees. And Villanova is now the caretaker of our beautiful cathedral of trees.
The school's kind of nestled in between the woods. And I think that as you drive up, it's just a feeling.
You can't duplicate this environment. It's gorgeous. It's just a natural, beautiful environment.
Another part of the reason I gravitate towards Cabrini is I actually love how outdoorsy our campus is. I always like just doing like laps around the commons.
I think my favorite place on campus would have to be the grill because me and my best friend Hannah, we go there almost every single day and we sit there and we do homework and we drink coffee, and I think I've been there more times than I've been in class.
Soccer field. Soccer field in the old gym, right? The old Founders Hall gym, just because we played a lot of indoor soccer there, right? And Helen Goodwin and John Jake were constantly screaming at us because we were either breaking their office windows or we were breaking their radiators. That gym wasn't much more than a half a step up from a grade school auditorium / gymnasium. It was a little pit of a gym. But it was our gym.
That one's easy. My favorite place on campus is definitely Dixon. I spent so much time there. I grew so much there as an athlete, as a person.
When it was built, the Dixon Center, and thankfully Mr. and Mrs. Dixon really were well behind this financially in terms of helping it be built. I think it's a wonderful building. Of course, Tom Nerney, the contribution that he's put in here as well. The building was really an important ingredient to the athletic program. It was started. It would be like what communications went through when the old gym, right, was okay. We're moving into this new gym. Let's make a really good communications area.
The obvious answer is the comm wing. That's where I spent probably the majority of my time, for better or for worse, here.
The radio station. For sure. I spent so many hours there. I didn't just do my own show or do the sports talk show or do the broadcasts. I would kind of, if I happened to be on campus for some unknown reason, I would go and sneak into the radio station and do an unscheduled show.
The Peace Garden. In between classes, having downtime, I'd often sit there and just sit, meditate.
One of my favorite places on campus is the bench right in front of Mother Cabrini. I like to sit there and kind of just commune with her spirit.
House 6. Living in the house compared to in a dorm, it was still very close quarters. You were in these sections within the house. But frankly, that was kind of what I envisioned college would be like in those homes, like in the Animal House mentality of what was happening. And not to say it was anywhere near that crazy.
I feel really lucky to have been able to work in the Iderola building. We have a really great science building.
My favorite place might actually be the second floor of the library. There's like the little fishbowl room. Yeah, it's like really like sitting in there and watching people kind of walk by.
The library is a place that touches every person on campus. I lived in Woodcrest all 4 years, but we all loved Grace Hall. It just had such ambiance, and the girls that lived there, I mean, some of them had fireplaces in their rooms. The courtyard was not an atrium when we were here. It was open. As soon as the nice weather hit in April, we had the lawn chairs out we took all of our album covers and covered them with aluminum foil and put the baby, and we would be laying out there tanning from in between classes.
It's House 3. Well, Infante. I don't know if they even call it House 3 anymore, but it's Infante House. That's where I lived for 2 years. It's like my second home. We had some RAs from other houses that just stayed there. The thing that I remember most is the quote wall. So we had, we were a bunch of comm majors, and we had access to this old, you may remember newsprint. Yeah, dating ourselves, right? So we had newsprint on the entire upper hallway. I mean, anything that anybody said, we would just write on the wall. Somebody would yell out, quote wall.
I was very pleased that they built the David Dunbar Memorial Garden right out in front of Iderola so that we can remember David.
I think as my time as a student, really, the foundation was in Founders Hall. The cafeteria is in there, but ultimately, my role as an educator was foundational to those classrooms.
The psych lab, a couple of friends and I, that's where we would stay up all night and cram.
It's obviously the Wolfington Center.
My favorite place on campus is at the Wolfington Center, mostly because as a commuter, that's like my second home.
My favorite place on campus is the chapel. I've had so many moments in my life, both joyous and of suffering, and going to Mass or being in the chapel gave me this strength.
My favorite place on campus was the chapel, empty. It felt good.
We used to break into this chapel and we used to hang out and play music until someone would see security, and then we would all scurry out like rats.
There's a saying in the chapel that Mother Cabrini always said is, I can do all things in He who strengthens me. And many times when I was really trying to develop something for the university that I wanted guidance with, I would go sit in the chapel.
And then there were other nights where I really got to enjoy people, like on the deeper level, like people would tell us about their ambitions, like their struggles. And this room is really where I got to know a lot of people for who they are.